This video was taken from a chapter of my novel, The SnapDragon Code by Jude Dupere-Douville. As they file out of the elevator, Stan exits last and walks over to the brass and steel security doors directly in front of him. Slowly, almost ceremoniously, he places his thumb on the verification pad and immediately a green light clicks on with a beep. Next, he moves his head up against a semicircular band of molded brass, positioning his eye socket for the scanner.
It is I, Satan.
And the final green light flickers on with a beep. The massive brass and steel doors gradually slide open, revealing the enchanted place. All the while, cameras recorded the ceremony, but no one in Stan's party even noticed. 6 sandstone Egyptian columns, 3 on one side and 3 on the other, stood facing each other in the middle of the Great Hall. The hieroglyphs etched on the stone columns told the story of Sutan and Patra in another place and time. Also, the columns served to direct one's attention to Horus's sacred repository, now visible behind thick sheets of blast-proof glass. A golden pyramid sat upon a cube block of lapis lazuli. At the top, the crystal hovered unaffected by gravity, like a dragonfly above its resting place. For a moment, the pilgrims all stopped in front of Horus's eye to adore the star-like crystal now held in its monstrance. Walking further into the dimly lit, cavernous sanctuary, Seni speaks up gruffly and says,
"So this is where you keep the big one, hey Stan?"
At first, the group thought he was referring to the crystal. Then they realized he was pointing to the very large glass and sterling silver lava lamp.
This, my friends, is probably the most accurate random number generator on the planet, and it's absolutely essential for keeping Earth's heaven running smoothly.
Pinks, mauves, golds, blues, buoyant bundles, in an almost hypnotic display of colors, rise up and then fall back down.
Stan, do you understand how all this works?
No, but Horus does, and that's all any of us need to know.
As they reach the jukebox-like multicolored arcade, positioned towards the back end of the hall, the semicircular plexiglass archway begins to radiate light.
I can only bring 4 of you inside at a time. I'll start with Seni, Marilyn, Gadriel, and Rachel first. Try to keep your stay there to less than 30 minutes, and remember, I've got to get all of you back to the airport by 2 p.m. When you enter the vir-veo, you'll recognize that you're at my home, and from there you can get your bearings. The video allows you to go into parts of the city, and some of you should be able to find your own neighborhoods. Now, I will need all of you to move to the right of these stone columns. Horus, open the Eden vir-veo.
Instantly, a laser gun drops down from the 20-foot-high ceiling, hovering at about 10 feet off the floor. Then what seems to be a duplicate crystal eye appears inside the clear glass chamber of the laser gun itself. As the crystal orb starts to spin, it begins to get brighter and brighter, until a focused beam of light shoots into the interior of the jukebox archway. A gaseous substance inside the arch starts to spread out in all directions, creating what looks like a 4th dimension of space. As the first 4 begin their tour, they hear a trumpet announcing the beginning of the movie, followed by a roaring, growling lion. A holographic door with an almost Wizard of Oz pathway opens up and Stan says,
All right, my friends, remember your time is limited in there, just 30 minutes, that's all, and then we'll send in the next group. Keep following the widening beam of light.
Stan tells the group, beginning with Seni and Marilyn, who do not hesitate to enter. Seni had been waiting for this for a long time. Marilyn was about to be let in on their secret. From the vantage point of those remaining on the outside, the 4 intrepid adventurers appeared to grow smaller and smaller as they moved forward. After that, they remained pretty much stationary, frozen with no movement at all.
Don't worry, guys, although they look like they are frozen in space and time, they are actually moving around quite easily inside. This illusion is similar to what happens when something falls into a black hole, although not as dangerous.
We know that, Stan. This is not our first rodeo, my friend.
One thing Stan is not so sure of is whether it was a good idea at all to let them visit their previous home. Stan realizes their reintroduction to the world they once knew could backfire on him. Having followed him here to Earth, would they now regret it? Their look was dismally somber as they emerged from their stopover. Seni and Gad were subdued, introspected, but Rachel came out in tears. When Gad tried to console her, she broke away and went over to sit alone on one of the benches. She did not stay there, however. She came back and began yelling at Stan, telling him,
"Why in the world did we ever go along with you? If we would have known how miserable Earth was, I think we would have all agreed to take the punishment. At least we could have gone back home someday,"
she says as tears roll down her cheeks. It seems everyone there except Marilyn felt the same way as Rachel. Marilyn, on the other hand, was totally confused about why this video would bring Rachel to tears. It was while all this was happening that Marilyn began to catch on as to why Rachel was so distraught. Up to now, she had not fully understood or even believed what Senny had hinted at. But now she realizes that this stuff is no damn joke. These people, including her own husband, apparently came from another time and place. She felt like she had entered the Twilight Zone. She told herself she had better be damned quiet about what she had just seen.
So, do the rest of you still want to take a tour of your old neighborhood?
Yes, Stan, I think we need to face it, and besides, I want to see the city again. That's one of the things I came for. I have a quick question though. Are there 2 quantum crystals? Because I see the one locked up on the pyramid, and then I see the one spinning inside the projector.
No, Maury, there's only one. You see 2 because the crystal is in a fully quantum state and can be in 2 places at once.
Stan explains as Maury nods with understanding and then takes hold of Tara's hand and tells Oris and Sophie to follow him inside. As they disappear through the theme park entrance, the remaining guests outside begin to look around the enormous room and all its Egyptian artifacts.
Are any of these statues actually from Egypt?
Well, Marilyn, perhaps you don't quite realize it now, but this reality right here in this room is holographic in nature. You may not totally believe me now, but you will come to understand and even accept it later. So just think about it for a minute. If this place, for example this room where we are now, is virtual, and by that I mean a projection of bits and bytes, then these artifacts cannot actually come from ancient Egypt, can they? In a sense, these heavy columns covered with hieroglyphs and these tall pharaohic sculptures over there are not much older than you or I. Therefore, if you think about it carefully, the statues' shapes and designs, their projected forms actually come from a database of bits and bytes much older than Earth's history. Let me put it this way. Take that death mask on the pedestal behind you. It is an exact replica of King Tut's burial mask. You see, neither mask is 3,000 years old because both were created just recently by a quantum computer using constructor theory. You mean Senny hasn't told you that yet?
Even though Marilyn could not tell if what Stan was saying was true, she was way too smart to challenge him. Maybe now a lot of things were starting to make sense to her, as well as starting to make her feel uncomfortably uncomfortable.
I see you have a wave machine here on the table.
As everyone's eyes turn to the motorized glass tank, now tilting to the right and then back again to the left.
Why is the water a dark red color?
Because it's not water.
It's merely decorative, honey. Stan collects unusual things.
Marilyn knew instinctively that there was definitely something odd about Senny's reaction. However, what truly concerned her was the fact that the water looked more like blood, the more she looked at it.
What's that golden spigot at the end for? Oh, I get it. This must be some very, very special wine, and I assume the small chalice-like goblets on the shelf below are what you serve it in. Stanley, I wouldn't mind trying some right now, unless you're keeping it all for yourself.
I'll tell you what, the next time we pay a visit to Stan's cellar, I will see that Stan gives you some of his precious wine. I promise you. Right now is not the time, okay?
Senny's reaction sends alarm bells off in Marilyn's mind, wondering what the hell is going on here. It was some time before the second group, comprised of Maury and Tara, Oris and Sophie, emerged from the strangely glowing egress that Stan considered his private time machine.
I have never ever seen anything like what I've just seen today. I don't understand why you had to leave that amazing place. I wish I could have been born into the future, like you guys. And I guess, now that I think of it, that makes me feel sad too.
Okay, time for Romy and Sheila and Uzi and Dee to go inside.
After the 4 of them disappear behind the glowing fog, Maury and Ori ask Stan to follow them to the other end of the enormous hall.
Sultan, if we're going to have the capability of bringing some of our brethren here to Earth via the Collider, is there any chance that some of us could go back to Eden using the same means? We were thinking that, if we went back, admitted our guilt, and agreed to be reborn as human, well, I think that's what we'd like to do. That's what we're thinking of anyways.
We're not blaming you for our situation, but we regret our decision. Can we go back? Is that possible?
After taking a deep breath and then walking a few feet away from the 2 of them, Stan, while standing with his back to them, says,
You know damn well that we cannot take that chance. At least not until your tethers are properly encrypted and on a secure boundary. Even if we could, though, I wouldn't let you go back, you ungrateful bastards.
But you gave us the wrong advice.
You know, I was waiting to hear that from someone today, but I didn't think that it would be from you, Maury. You and the others came to me, begged me to find you a way out, and now you're blaming me? I've given you the damned world here on this planet, and it's not good enough.
Okay, Stan, we understand. We just wanted it clarified. Hell, everything about the particle colliders seems so secretive. We simply thought there was a way, to go back. We won't ask you about that again, believe me.
If you guys had been more respectful, I would have offered you a little chrome from the wave machine. However, I don't think it would be a good idea in your current state of mind.
What's going on with the three of them over there? Another fight? I wish I understood all of this.
I do. But you need to ask Ori yourself. Anyway, it's about time you both find out the truth about the men you're with, or more precisely, the men who run this world.
And how do you know so much? Did Gad tell you everything?
No, he didn't have to because I came from that place you just visited. I know exactly how they feel about having come here.
Wait a minute. In the beginning, I thought that this 3D video show was just an advanced virtual reality fabrication, produced by one of Stan's companies. I just assumed this was an advanced virtual reality game that the guys had been waiting to invest in. I didn't think this was from a real location. Are you telling me that this place actually exists somewhere? I must be losing my mind.
Seni hinted at things, but I always thought he was fooling. I never took him seriously, and a lot of times I thought he was talking about plans for future designs. I had no idea he was trying to tell me he came from another actual planet. These revelations were now beginning to make her feel very queasy. Just a few more hours, she tells herself, and we'll be headed home.